Welcome to the Faith and Happiness podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, happiness coach, mental health champion, and founder of the Faith and Happiness Playground. And if you're ready to smile more simply by being you here, I would invite you to go to faithandhappinessplayground.com/join to find out more and join us. In the meantime, though, let's crack on with today's episode. In today's episode of the podcast, we are thinking about choice. What choice do you have? Now, if you listen to Monday's episode, I did give you a tiny preview of what we'll be digging into. But this is really some of this. Okay, you're going to listen to this and you're going to go, "Oh, well, that's just semantics. That's just language tweaks." I tell you what, a lot of the work I do is semantics and language tweaks because your brain is an amazing, powerful engine, and you can actually change. I'm not even kidding. You can change the way that you view the world simply by changing the language and changing the stories. So please, as we go through this episode, if you're there thinking, "Oh no, that's just language," yes, it's language, and language is amazing and powerful and impactful. So don't let the simplicity of what I'm about to share with you fool you. This has the potential to make a real difference, because there is a better than average chance that if you've been showing up doing lots of things from a sense of duty because you should, as opposed to that love piece that we talked about on Monday, you will come to a point in your life, if not in every aspect of life, but in some aspects of life, where you start to feel a little bit resentful. And you may not acknowledge that out loud to anybody else. I'm not even asking you to acknowledge it out loud to me. But if you're honest with yourself, there are times where you're just like, why me? Why do I have to do this? What's the point? Ugh. And you might not even vocalize it like that. You might not even have the language around it yet. Incidentally, if you do have the language around it yet and you feel like sharing that with me, I'd love to hear the way that you describe it, because actually the better that I can describe it in a way that resonates with you, the easier it becomes for me to share this message with more people for whom it is helpful. I'm just saying that's a quick do as a favor type thing. But actually, a lot of this stuff is really hard to put into words. It's more of a feeling and an angst, a niggle, something just not quite sitting right, as opposed to concrete words. And I get that. But if you're somebody who, again, I'm saying it's not going to necessarily be every single aspect of life. Chances are it would be certain areas of life where you're just honestly feeling a bit resentful and fed up with it all. This episode is for you, because I want to encourage you to start embracing and seeing where you have power to make a choice. Now, sometimes that choice is about going, "No, I'm not going to do this anymore." And either it doesn't get done or you hand it off to somebody else. And that's a perfectly valid choice. Sometimes the choice is, this thing is mine, but I'm choosing to embrace it and I'm going to take ownership of that. And that's perfectly valid too. The third choice is choosing not to make a choice right now. That's the least powerful and the least motivational choice to make, but it's still a choice. If you're listening along to this and you're going, "Yeah, I am feeling resentful, but honestly, Elle, I'm just not ready to even go down and look at that and peek behind that door yet. That's too scary." That's fine. That too, my friend, is your choice. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do around this work. You can go, "Yeah, I get it." You can even just sort of mentally park it and say you're going to come back to it. If you do decide to do that, I would encourage you to put a date in your diary for when you're going to come back to it. Because the reality is life moves so fast, and before you know it, you're going to blink and it's going to be March. I'm just saying. So if you do decide that now is not the right time to look at that, but you want to come back to it, pencil it into if you've got an actual diary, then pencil it into your actual diary. If, like me and lots of other people, it tends to be a diary or a calendar on your phone, pop it in there, whatever. You get to choose. Now then, if, however, you've decided, "Yes, I'm ready to embrace this," there is a way that you can supercharge your motivation. Now, I'm going to give you a call to action. All good marketers are told they're meant to have a call to action at the end of this, but never fear, this one is actually a really easy call to action, because I talk about this. I don't know if you haven't come across my little goal setting book. And actually, this is a quick sort of behind the scenes thing. My little goal setting book used to be called Happily Ever After. It's now called You Goal Setting. The reason being that I've gone through a bit of a rebrand and reworking stuff. And I actually want to release a series of books. So I've got, for example, You Goal Setting. And actually that's a much more descriptive title than Happily Ever After. The reason why it was called Happily Ever After was because it was about helping you create your very own happy ever after. And that's still true. It's about helping you design a life that makes you smile simply by being you. But it was a bit confusing, so I rebranded it. But anyway, if you haven't already downloaded a copy of Happily Ever After or Your Goal Setting, it's the same book. Just saying, the cover's different. If you haven't already downloaded that, my call to action for you is to download that. And I will put a link in the description or in the show notes where you can do that, because it's available for free on Kindle. And my extra little sort of nudge, I would also love to send you the audiobook. I got some free, there's a playbook that helps you go along with it as well. And you can get that on faithandhappinessplayground.com/freebies. There you go. That's my quick little reminder. But really, this is about supercharging your motivation. I'm going to tell you here in this video how we're going to do that. Don't worry. I'm not going to say you need to do that and then go and get this thing to do it. I will give you the answer here. It's about finding your why. It's as simple as that. And the reason why the why is so important is because when we start to do new projects, and yeah, the book is about setting goals and working towards stuff. So within that context, it's a new, exciting thing. Within the context of the stuff that you're feeling a bit resentful about, it's not new, it's not shiny, it's not exciting. I get that. However, this will still work because I want you to sit down and think about, why am I doing these things? What is the point? Why do I do it? And you want to pretend that you're about 3 or 4 years old and you want to, but why? Imagine you're saying it in your most whiny voice, but why? You know how like children, if you've got kids and when they're little, they ask you a question and you give them a perfectly valid answer and they go, yeah, but why? And then you go, okay, and you give them another answer and they go, but why? And it's like, oh, and eventually you go, just because. I want you to but why your way and find out what is the real reason why you are doing these things, particularly those things that you are feeling a bit fed up and resentful about. And if ultimately the answer is, I don't know, there's no point really, I would encourage you to think about how can you actually ditch those things. But some of those things are going to be things that you want to do or need to do. And so I'm going to give you an example. Like I get up at 6 a.m. and get the children ready for school. And I'm quite lucky because I'm one of those really annoying, chirpy, early morning birds, and that's fine. But even for an early bird like me, there are times like, oh, I would love to just have an extra few minutes in bed. The reason I do that is because I love, having the opportunity to be here and help make the start of their day as delightful as possible. That varies from child to child. Some of my children like not too many words, just saying. Others of my children like a cheery good morning. And so we have to adapt the style according to the person. Ultimately, it's about, that's the whole premise of Yuya. There isn't one size fits all. And that's even within the context of our families. There's no one size fits all. We're all wonderful, uniquely brilliant human beings who have different quirks and eccentricities. But that would be the why. Why do I do that? And because you could just go, well, because you have to, because someone's got to get them up and get them to school. But that's not very empowering. And so remember I told you at the start of this episode, this really is a language tweak. But actually, even as I say it, I'm doing that because I want to get them and give them the best start to the morning possible. I can feel myself go, oh, that feels really lifting, as opposed to, well, because they've got to go to school. Can you feel the difference in the energy it gives you? So try this for yourself. But like I say, if you want more details or more reading around it, I would encourage you to download Your Goal Setting. And I'd love to send you the audiobook. Happily ever after, faithandhappinessplayground.com/freebies. But I will put the links in the comments or in the show notes or whatever. Because in the resources that go with it, it digs into a little bit more, your different ways of accessing the material. But more than anything, just give it a try for yourself. Because unless you try these things, you won't know if they're going to work for you. And I would argue that actually that's the whole premise of why it's called the playground. It's about trying things, tweaking things, playing with them some more, embracing a sense of fun with it. But unless you actually take that first step and give it a go, you're not going to know. So faithandhappinessplayground.com/freebies. I shall be back on Friday with our Faith Friday edition of the podcast. In the meantime, thank you for being here. Smile, have yourself a delightful day, and I shall catch up with you then. Take care. Bye-bye.